Wow, okay, so I guess we're back now? I'm assuming we're back now. I don't know exactly when OBS decided to not stream, but it like stopped for a good little bit. And then it was like, nah. Then it's like, nah, we're good. So yeah, I don't know what was going on with OBS there, but oh well, that, yeah, huh. Well, anyways, but no, so I don't know when it stopped, but all I'm gonna say is to catch up, Illusionist plus the Relinquished combo is kind of hard to beat, because now he's back. So they summon their stuff, except they play down an effect monster, and this right here is what I needed them to do. Play an effect monster down so we can actually change the battle just a bit, because their effect monster has a defense of 2600, higher than all their other guys' attack, and that's exactly what I needed here. Because the moment I did that, they were done. They're like, nah, we're good. And now they can do nothing. They just end their turn. They got nothing else to do. So what we're doing here now is, now that I got this Claw of Hermos in my hand, I'm kind of just waiting to summon. Oh, and there it goes. Well, I still need another spellcaster type though. But this Claw of Hermos right here is a really awesome card if you have spellcaster types. If you're playing like a spellcaster heavy deck, it's really great. Mainly because I don't know who Hermos is or what, you know, what archetype this card goes with, but the card I actually use it for, which I believe I do summon it in this duel here. If I don't, I'll explain it. It's so good in Ritual Blue Eyes. Oh, which one you're saying is good? You know, with a 7k beater with piercing and double damage? Oh. Wait, but oh, Red Eye's sword? Oh, okay. So they finally managed to take out the Relinquished with the 2600. However, they attack me. And I'm like, let me take this guy, who he can't beat. And the reason why I didn't take the guy that was 3k attack was because his original attack was only 1800. Otherwise, I would have taken him. So I took the Shark Fortress instead. Now I can use the Claw of Hermos. And what I actually use the Claw of Hermos for is the Ban Hammer. Time Magic Hammer. This is exactly what I use the Claw of Hermos for. Must be special summoned with the Claw of Hermos using a spellcaster monster. If this card is special summoned, target one other face-up monster on the field. Equip this card to it at the start of the damage step. If it battles an opponent's monster, you can roll a 6-sided die and banish that opponent's monster until the standby phase of the whatever turn of the effect's activation. So in other words, and this does not target. That's like the best thing about this ability. It does not target. So cards that say they can't be targeted, who cares? You're getting banished. You got the Ban Hammer. That's exactly what it is. So you roll a die and, you know, you just do your thing. And I think it's this duel that will show it. I want to say it's this duel where he goes for the Ban Hammer and they get banned. Whoever Zaru is, they totally get banned. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're getting banned. I'm at 100 life points and they're like, nah. Just ban. Just ban completely. So I attack that, ban for 6 turns, and that's going to be game. The Relinquished deck, and then I throw in the Ban Hammer. I also have a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in this Relinquished deck. I don't think I've explained yet in this video why I have it. I'll explain it in the next duel here. Now this duel here actually is going to be with my current version of this Relinquished deck, the actual faster version for this event. But I do have a Blood's Ultimate Dragon that I can actually have one card that lets me summon it. This card's actually limited to 1 in the duel. If it doesn't come up in this duel, I'll show it when I do the deck list, because I think I still have it in my deck list for this deck. But this is the faster version, because I didn't realize with my OG Millennium player Saturday morning Yugi and Yami Yugi Pharaoh cartoon watching self that some of the newer cards these days is like this Incantation stuff, which is super great at searching out your rituals. So since the only ritual I have is Relinquished, I'm like, sure, I put like all 12 of these things in here, because there's an incantation that searches a ritual monster from your deck, another one that searches a ritual monster from your graveyard, another one that searches ritual spell cards from your deck, and another one that searches ritual spell cards from your graveyard. So no matter where your rituals are, no matter how many times they destroy Relinquish, or no matter how many times they negate your spell card and send it to the graveyard, you always have a way of getting them back and just bringing back your rituals. Inclinations are one of those cards I just refuse to play because they're too good. They are certainly good. This duel right here that I'm about to show you, like the moment I changed up the deck to put Incantations instead of like Sonic Bird and the other 2 cards that are super slow for searching, it changed the game. It changed the way this deck works for me, or at least how fast it is. Because already, as long as you have, now you can't brick with them. Like I realize you have to have like another piece of the puzzle, so to speak, in order for them to work. Use Mana instead of Sonic Bird and Senju. I use both. I use all 3. And the older version of the deck, I used all 3. I used Sonic Bird, Thousand Hand Senju, and Manju. I used all 3 of them. In this version, I'm using all Incantations instead. And so yeah, they put a monster face down. I absorbed it with Relinquished. They put that thing there. Now I think in this, was this the one where I misread? I think, no, is this not it? No, I didn't misread in this one. Because the Incantation ritual spell card, I think in one duel I misread or misunderstood one thing I was reading and used it when I shouldn't have. Kind of wasted it. But look at this, super fast, getting Relinquished, easy peasy. Had a Pyramid Turtle get into the spell zone. So yeah, so they summoned Pyramid Turtle face down. Relinquish can still absorb a monster even if it's face down. He just gets 0 attack, 0 defense. Yeah, we do that. So now I'm just chipping them down for 500, like just taking everything from them. They put another one down in defense mode, and I'm like, you know, unfortunately, oh wait, that's right, because I can bring that back with that spell card, and then use that to get this, and then use this to get that. Incantations, man, it changed the game. Just sending out Relinquish. We're gonna absorb this card over here. It's ours now. They do their thing. Unfortunately, it's not working too well for them, but they do their thing. I mean, I only got 500 attack to chip them with. But, you know, it is what it is. So now I switch over. I switch over to this so I can get some damage instead of this 1700. So they're gonna do a Dimension Wall, which is actually a pretty cool card. I didn't even know if it existed until like this event. But yeah, so instead of me, the opponent takes battle damage. I would have taken this turn. It doesn't target a monster or anything like that. So that's actually a pretty cool card. I mean, it's only for one battle, so there is that, but it's still a pretty cool card. So right here, I'm doing what's called a pro gamer move. Basically, I'm gonna sack some life points on my end, right? Attack with Relinquished, because these two are sitting at 0 attack, 0 defense. We don't want that. And I'm not gonna wait for him to attack my Relinquish so that I can, like, you know, try and get something better later. No, we're gonna go ahead and do it now. We don't want to give the opponent any momentum at all, if we can help it. So we go ahead and attack with Relinquish here. It's gonna destroy my equip card over here, which, since this card was on my side of the field and it was equipped and all that, its effect doesn't matter. It doesn't activate, which is good. Good for us. And so now that I've done this, I go ahead, straight go to the main phase and take him out. So now they're trying to get momentum going, banishing my cards, doing some stuff with theirs. But I mean, it's all good. As long as they don't banish a Relinquished, we're good. It's kind of like Eldlik or Blue Eyes or, you know, Dark Magicians in that sense. It's kind of harder to fight if you banish the main cards, the main three, or especially Eldlik. Blue Eyes and Dark Magician can still fight if you banish them, but Eldlik cannot. Now, this little card here, this Paleozoic Oleonoids, the Paleozoics are actually kind of interesting to me, except if it's a Paleozoic Eldlik deck. That is the most annoying thing on this earth. But anyways, so for the Paleozoic, at least this one, it's like a Mystical Space Typhoon, literally a trap card version, or like a Dust Tornado, perhaps, except it can also come back as a normal monster. So it's like an extra effect Mystical Space or Dust Tornado. So I was like, yes, because this deck is weak to back row. This Relinquished deck has practically no back row, especially since this is the NR event. So a lot of the good back row deletion cards are not present. So we do need something that can help out here. So they're gonna sack some things. I chose to sack a spell card from that monster's ability because the Incantation spell card works in the graveyard as well. And the other cool thing about Relinquish is any battle damage I take, the opponent takes as well, and then they just gave up. Because they realized it wasn't going to happen. They realized that was it. I was going to absorb their monster and attack them, and that's that. So those are 3 battles I've had with Relinquished, with the Relinquished deck. And so, to actually show the current version of this deck, so with the current version of this deck, what I'm running here is 3 of the Millennium Eyes Illusionists. You pretty much gotta have this in a Relinquished deck. Like, you're not doing Relinquished right if you're not having this card with it. You can use this card as tribute fodder for Relinquished, and the moment you do, it goes back to your hand. So it's like you got a free summon of Relinquished, and then if their opponent has an effect monster, you can use this during your opponent's turn as a quick effect to equip the monster. So when they have 2 monsters on the field, they attack your Relinquish, your equip card gets sacked, and now your Relinquish is like open for attack. You can just equip the other monster to them, to your Relinquish, and therefore no attack. Or they lose a monster if you equip a stronger one. You got the Incantation Prince of Plume, Candle, you got 3 of those, 3 of the Plumes, 3 of the Incantation Candles. We got 3 of the Incantation Bookstones and 3 of the Incantation Talismandra. All 12 of those things, which means they are all 12 brickable. These, if you end up drawing like these 12 or any of these as your starting hand without a ritual monster or the ritual spell cards with them, it's bricks. It's bricks. That's just how it is. But with this deck, if you don't get Relinquished on the field, you're kind of bricking anyways, and the whole goal is get Relinquished on the field. We got 3 of the Illusionist Faceless Magician because this card is amazing with Relinquish, especially if you have Millennium Eyes in your hand or even in the graveyard. If they take out Illusionist, it brings out Relinquish. They take out Relinquish, it brings out Illusionist from your hand or graveyard. So it's like It's great. Normally the situation is, right, you have Relinquished on your field. They have a bunch of monsters. They attack your Relinquish is now weak and vulnerable, so you use a Millennium Eyes Illusionist to go ahead and try and equip another card to Relinquish. Then they attack that, and now your Relinquish is vulnerable again. And then, and since you're out of these things, assuming you only have one in your hand, right? But also, I think it's only once per turn. Yeah, each effect is only once per turn anyways, so you can only do that once. So then they're like, okay, we attack Relinquish again, or they just blow it up with an effect, because Relinquish has no effect protection at all. None. It's OG. A lot of OG cards don't have effect protection. So they do that. And then Illusionist Faceless Mage comes on the field. Well, then they have to get rid of that on that turn. If they don't, it's there and it has 2200 defense, not bad. If they do manage to get rid of it with an effect or things like that, it brings back Relinquish from the graveyard. And not only that, once Relinquish is special summoned, Millennium Eyes Illusionist comes back to your hand, so you can do this mess all over again. At least in theory, because it says you only use each effect once per turn. I haven't had like that dire of a situation to do the full-on combo all in one turn, because normally the opponent's not going to get there, especially in the NR events. They're not summoning 5 monsters per turn, except Megalith. Anyways. You got a Kaiju monster because there are some monsters that, even in this format, they cannot be destroyed by battle and they cannot be targeted by card effects. And your Relinquish has to target the monster in order for the effect to work. So, since I like to have, I try to stick with 20 monsters, 20 spell traps. I try to. I have 22 monsters this time because I just couldn't not have, you know, all 12 of those guys. But I am running a Kaiju because there are those monsters that can't be targeted, can't be destroyed by battle. You got to get rid of those somehow. And the only way this deck really does that is by Kaiju or by Claw of Hermos. And I was running 3. I'm down to 2 with this current version of the deck once I added in the Incantation cards. The Claw of Hermos is used solely for Time Magic Hammer. The ban hammer that does not target. It just bans. For however many turns the dice is rolled, that card is banned. And it is not a once per turn thing. On your turn, your monster, depending on the effect, may only be able to attack once per turn. But on your opponent's turn, if they all just rush into your ban hammer, they get banned. That's just that simple. Next, we have one of the Incantation Thanatosis, the field spell. I only really wanted to run one of these because, I mean, this deck is kind of full of stuff anyways, and I was trying to cover up a lot of weaknesses of this deck, so it's kind of hard to squeeze in. Now, I think it replaced a Claw of Hermos, because Claw of Hermos needs for me to discard a spellcaster type, and the only spellcasters I have is Millennium Eyes, Illusionist Faceless, and Relinquished. And you really don't want to sack Relinquish for anything if you can help it, so you want to sack Illusionist or Millennium Eyes because they work in the graveyard as well. But that's still only 6 out of 22 monsters, or 6 cards out of 40 that you can really use Claw of Hermos with. So yeah, only running 2 of those. You don't want to brick getting one of those. And you really don't want to sacrifice Relinquish unless you're just in dire situations. So we got Incantation Thanatosis. We got 3, of course, Black Illusion Rituals, and we got 3 Incantation Inceptions. Now there is another card that lets you ritual summon any dark type monster, but the levels of the monsters have to be exact. And since Relinquish is a level 1, I would have to have a bunch of level 1s, and I don't in this version of the deck, so that card was not going to work. But Incantation works, but you have to have an Incantation card used as part of the tributes. But since I got 12 Incantation monsters, I'm going to be hard pressed not to have an Incantation monster on the field, especially since they search each other from the deck. It's kind of hard not to. Now, this deck, like I said, is weak to back row. So I have Magician's right hand and Magician's left hand, which basically they negate the first effect of a spell or trap each turn. Negate your opponent's first spell and trap every turn as long as you have a spellcaster monster on the field. That's like face up, of course. And so that card, this combo alone, Magician's left, Magician's right, it has saved Relinquished a lot from just spells and effects, Raigekis, bottomless trap holes, stuff like that. Because actually, I don't know if bottomless is in this event. I think it is. Raigeki's not, obviously, but you get the idea that I'm going for. Whatever their first spell or trap is, it's negated straight up. People have tried to use Lost Wind on my Relinquished. It got negated, which Lost Wind is a great trap card. It's underrated in my opinion. I actually really like that trap card for negating monster effects because it's permanent and it can come back to the field. But anyways, so that helps get rid of back row. Now, this deck also needs a lot of draw power. Or at least it did when I was running the super slow version. This super fast version, it may not need the draw power, but defense draw is a card I liked in real life from back in the day. And it's, you know, you take 0 damage, you draw 1. It's kind of like Karibo, except you get to draw 1 afterwards. So it's not bad, and it doesn't target, so that's cool too. Then we have the Paleozoic Oleanoids. They're mystical space typhoons with an extra effect, so it's nice. They can come back as a normal monster, which helps for a specific card we'll get to later. Next, we have Dark Illusion. Now, Dark Illusion here, it's a powerful negate card for something that targets a dark monster. And again, this whole deck is all about Relinquished, so we're protecting Relinquished here with Dark Illusion. But, you know, we have more dark monsters. Millenniumize is dark. Illusionist Faceless is dark. Incantation Bookstone is dark. Talismandra is dark. These guys aren't dark, but most of the monsters that will be on our field are dark, so if something targets them, we can just negate it. Preferably for Relinquished because it has no effect protection, but you know, there's that. Now there's this. Fist of the Unrivaled Tenyi. Now in this event, it is limited to 1. Outside of the event in Master Duel, it's unlimited, but which is really great for a Blue Eyes deck actually. But anyways, so basically with this card, right, as long as anytime a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated while you control a face-up normal monster, basically non-effect, well, not normal, but non-effect, you can negate the activation. So for our oceanic or Paleozoic Oleanoids, I don't know why I said oceanic, but these guys, when they come back to the field, they come back as normal monsters. So great, I can negate something if I have them on the field. But that's literally 3 out of how many cards? 40. So, because I have none of my other monsters are normal monsters. So this card's kind of useless, right? Except for the reason why this card is limited. Or at least the reason I believe it's limited. If this set card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 non-effect monster from your extra deck. So if they sack it with their mystical space typhoons or whatever, you get it just free special summon as long as it's a non-effect. And the strongest non-effect monster, at least actually yeah, the strongest non-effect monster in this event is Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, followed by Master of Oz. So if they destroy it, that's just a free Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon just off the bat, no problems. But there's more. So we do have 2 Band Hammers because we have 2 Claws of Hermos. We have 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate because I just like the funniness of this card. You could probably do a better card, really, if you wanted to be more competitive. But I like this card, so this is what I'm doing. Because, you know, we about the troll life. Now, the next thing we have is Herald of Pure Light. Because it takes 2 level 2s. Cam dead. Hey Majin, no, the cam's not dead. I just wanted to stream without it. I wasn't really feeling in the mood for cam views right this moment. So for these videos, so I was like, I'll just do no cam this time around. But I've been explaining this Relinquished deck, and I'm actually at the end of this one, and I'm going to explain a hand trap deck that I made, which has been hilarious as well. So I'll do that in the next video here shortly. But no, so in case you're in a dire situation where you have your Millennium Eyes, because I think these are all, yeah, so I have the Millennium Eyes here. In case you're in a dire situation where you have 2 for whatever reason, you got Herald of Pure Light. And basically it's just something that's there, pretty much. Same thing with the number 29. I forget, I added these because of their effects, I believe, but this is also added from when I had the slower version of this deck. Now we have the Queen Dragon Jin, which again is added from the slower version of this deck. However, the specific scenario that you would ever summon Queen Dragon Jin is if you were able to get a Blue Eyes ultimate and then your opponent just knocks it off because it has no effect protection. And then if you had your level 4s, which in the previous version of this deck was like your Sonic Birds, your Senju, and your Manjus. If you had 2 of those on the field, you could go ahead and Igzy into Queen Dragon Jin, and then go ahead and get your Blue Eyes ultimate back on the field. But again, that's from the slower version of this deck. In this deck, you would use it for if you had 2 Incantation Candles. Other than that, you really wouldn't, but the only time you'd use this anyways is if you need to get Blue Eyes ultimate back on the field. And the only time you get Blue Eyes ultimate on the field is if your opponent sacks this. So, yeah. Next, we have the Fairy Cheer Girl. And this was from back when I had the older version of this deck as well. As you can see, we don't really use the extra deck in this deck at all, because it's all about Relinquished, and all the extra deck Relinquished cards are not in this event. But for the slower version of this deck, because the Senju and Manju, I think they're fairy types, and so this allows you to draw a card, because this deck does need some draw power. You can brick pretty easily, and you can get slowed down, except for these guys. So yeah, I needed the draw power. We had number 85 Crazy Box because it's a trolley card and I like it. That's pretty much it. It's just a trolley card and I like it. Then we have number 82 Heartland Draco. So yeah, other than that, I mean, it just, as long as I have a face-up spell, your opponent can't target us for attacks, and with, you know, Magician's Right Hand and yada yada, it was nice to have this with it. Other than that, you can attack your opponent directly with it, but that's really all it was there for. Same with number 52. You know, if you absolutely need to summon it, which I did actually in one duel, but that was with the older version of this deck, the slower version. Same with the number 70 Malevolent Spider. Or Malevolent Sin, but the spider card, everyone knows it. It's pretty common. 2 level 4s, you know what it does. You attack, you go up a level, you go up a rank, and then eventually you get to number 77. But these, like, literally most of this extra deck is used for the slower version of this deck before I put in the Incantation cards. Since then, the only really cards that you really use is the Magic Hammer, the Ban Hammer, and the Blue Eyes Ultimate for memes. That's it. That's literally it, because this deck is just so fast that you get Millennium pretty quick. You get your combos going. Eventually you will draw into these guys. You can use these Incantations as well to thin out the deck a little bit, so that way you can get to these guys faster if you didn't get your Relinquished supports and your Kaiju for those trouble monsters. So yeah, that's how this deck goes. It's a lot of fun. I hope y'all enjoy it. I will catch you on the next one, because the next one I'm about to do is a video for the hand trap deck that I've been using today, and it is hilarious. It's not for the event though, so I'll have to change the title, but I will be back. Hope y'all enjoyed this. I will catch you on the next one.